Welcome back to Studio 10. When it comes to serious medical issues, many Australian men ignore them or put up with them in silence.
Today's story is a good example of why men should go to the doctor as soon as they notice something different. But first, let's welcome our very own clinical psychologist, Jo Lambert.
Hello, Jo. Welcome, Jo. What can you tell us about today's story that we're going to hear?
Well, as you say, men tend not to go to the doctor when they notice symptoms, and today we're going to meet a man who's quite like that, but also now not only is he struggling with MS, but struggling to be the father and husband that he wants to be.
So before we meet Aaron and Sam, his wife, let's listen to some of their story.
Meet the O'Hallorans. There's Aaron, Sam and Jake. And together they make up a typical Aussie family. But right now, the lives of these people are anything but. These three are locked in a very personal war, and the stakes are high. It was over 20 years ago when Aaron first started to experience strange feelings in his body. And over the years, the sensations continued to get worse.
He was collapsing, he was falling into walls, he was not feeling glasses in his hands and he'd be dropping them.
Like many Aussie men, Aaron chose not to see a doctor, instead blaming old sporting injuries or simply ignoring the symptoms. But finally, after 2 decades, Aaron started to look for reasons why this was happening. And after many tests and consultations, the diagnosis was finally delivered. Aaron was suffering from MS.
In layman's terms, I guess, it causes blockages, so the message doesn't get through. And so that's what would happen with Aaron. He'd have a lesion or a white matter on the nerve, and that stops the message getting through.
It affects more than 23,000 people across the country. But if caught early, in most patients, progression can be slowed. But for Aaron, it was too late to make much of a difference. It's forced him to sell his business and use a wheelchair more often. But for this loving father and husband, that is a distant second to the pain and guilt he feels for those around him who have to deal with his illness.
I don't feel right about having hurt people through this. I feel like she deserves a lot better than this. And so does my son.
He's my husband, he's my love, we've been together for so long now. We've really had some challenges in life. It's not been easy, but this is really hard. This is the hardest thing we've ever faced.
And we will meet Aaron and Sam right after the break. Stay with us here on Studio 10.